The views and opinions expressed by John and DJ do not reflect those of any intelligent or rational human being and are solely the property of the Brightside Chat.
This show is a proud member of the Nerdy Legion Podcast Network. Get more at nerdylegion.com. Enjoy the show.
Hey, welcome back to the Bright Side and issue number 162. That's where we're at, right, John?
If you say it is, it is. I will not question you.
I know. I was actually going to throw a record scratch in there just for fun. It's been a while since we've had a normal open.
It has.
And it's been a while since you and I have had a normal day. It's been a long week.
It has.
Yeah. So, why don't we head on into the store and talk about it there, Coffee Boy?
Sounds good.
All right. Hey, we're in the store.
We are.
Some semblance of normalcy here. So, for those who haven't been paying attention or didn't hear my 2-minute podcast from Friday on my other podcast. Did you hear that one?
No, I saw that it was 2 minutes, and I pretty much knew exactly what it said.
Yeah, well, we've been talking, but yeah. We'll tell the story. Most people don't know. Yeah, I actually tested positive this past week.
You did.
So when John and I recorded last week, luckily we had a country between us.
Yeah, we were joking about social distancing, and then we both still got each other sicker.
Well, John, to be fair, you always do make me sick.
I know.
You kind of stepped into that one.
I did.
No, yeah, you were actually a little worse than I was last Tuesday. When we recorded.
Yeah, you got hit a little harder than me towards the
baton.
End. Yeah.
It's like. I tell people I kind of like the ball starts rolling down the hill and it's like it just picked up speed and then just fell off the cliff.
Right.
By Wednesday, I couldn't talk. My throat was killing me. I couldn't eat. I didn't eat for like 3 days. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. But like we were saying before, I've had worse. I've had better. I've had worse flus. I've had better flus.
Right.
But it takes a little while to your body gets beat up from it, so I'm still recovering. Right. Now, you tested negative, but
I tested negative. I still was pretty sick all week.
Yeah.
And like we talked about, I went and took the test on Thursday, which was New Year's Eve, I guess.
Yeah, you took a test the day before I did, and I found out right away.
Right, supposed to get the results back in 24 to 48 hours. Which went right into New Year's Eve and New Year's Day.
Right.
So I didn't get my results back until Sunday, like late, like 6 o'clock. So without having the results, I had to continue on like I had it because I didn't know. So my wife and I stayed distant from each other, and we still did all the things like I had it, and then. So neither one of us had a great vacation, unfortunately. But
my first vacation since 2005, and wow,
yeah.
I'm like, what am I thinking?
Yeah,
I was like, that's it. It was awful, and it went through my family, went through my whole family. You and I have been talking. The one good thing is. My family, we all gave it to each other one way or the other. We know how it got in, but, my son, Joe, he left for Mexico the day after the gathering. Right. And we were all nervous about him down there because you have to have
he might not be able to come
home. And when I tested positive, I was talking to the doctor and she was like, I said, I'm not going to tell him. I said, cause it does no good. Right. And like, what am I going to, he's in Mexico. What am I going to do? It's just going to ruin his vacation and make him worry about something that it doesn't change anything one way or the other.
Right.
So he tested negative the morning of his flight, which was yesterday. And he texted me and he goes, I'm negative. We're coming home. And I was like, oh, good. I said, did you hear my podcast on Friday? And he said, no. And I go, hey, put it on. I go, it's only 2 minutes. I go, you and Kayla will get a kick out of it. And he texts me back about 2 minutes later. He goes, oh my God, are you okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I told him we didn't want to tell you. The whole family knew. Because we have a family text chain.
Right.
And we didn't want him to know. So we kept off of that. And he's like, thank you. He's like, I was already worried. And
Right.
I didn't want to, that would have just made me like probably worse. So,
Yeah.
I'm
We were worried about it when we went to Mexico City a few months ago, and neither one of us
That's
were
right, too,
sick. But the thing is, you have the
never know.
potential to get stuck there.
Yeah.
Like the people that tested in front of us, one of the ladies came back positive and
Ugh.
couldn't go home. And it's like, I'm thinking, oh my God, right? Like that's all
Yeah.
I need is to get stuck and not be able to go home. We don't have a hotel anymore.
Yeah.
We don't have.
well, you actually get
anything, and so-
quarantined, I heard. They
Right.
actually take you into custody.
I
but
don't know. I
that's-
don't know if they did that with that lady, but
That's what
they,
Meg found that out, but she didn't want to tell me until we found out Joe
Right.
was coming home. I'm like, why? It wouldn't have changed anything. But apparently you don't just go back to your hotel and pay for more.
Oh no,
hotel.
you have to.
You
You
get
have to
take it into
get
custody.
quarantined.
Yeah. But you're only there until you test negative. It's not like
Right.
they don't set days or anything. It's just like they'll just test you again until you're
Right.
negative and get you on a plane. But it's still, I'm like, it's not worth traveling. It's
Right.
not. And the only thing is now that I've had it, I have like 90 days. I can go anywhere. Because once you've had it, you can have like, hey, recovered from COVID within 90 days and you don't have to test to fly back.
Right.
So I was like, if Jen, my wife, she never tested positive. So she's all set, except for the fact that had she tested positive and recovered, we could have gone on vacation and not
Right.
had to worry about it. And it's like, that's why we won't go. I can't go now because what if she gets stuck there?
Right.
And that would stink. So, hang on a second. See? Still not 100%.
No.
Ugh.
There'll be some coughs all over this show.
Yeah.
So
All right. Sorry about that. But yeah, so that was a fun vacation. It's hard to believe. It was a week
Yeah.
ago from right now. We were joking about it. Like
I know.
we do with everything, and then it gets ruined.
well, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Oh. All right. What do we got first? What do you want to, anything? Oh, how's the store doing? How'd the store do in your absence, in your vacation quotation fingers last week?
It did fine. We were closed on Christmas Day, obviously, but
Yeah.
other than that, we were open every day. It was a good week. Like I said,
that's good.
the week leading up to and following Christmas are always pretty good. I didn't run any numbers to compare it to last year. But I'm sure we were up because last year was such a bad year.
Was it? I thought last
yeah.
year was pretty good because weren't we supposed to be coming out of it by then?
We were supposed to have been, but because 2019 was really the year, right? Like that was the year we had a closure and all that. So it seems like it's weird
No,
that was
actually.
2 years ago already. But 2020 was supposed to be a great year, and it felt good, but like I ran my end of the year numbers and my sales were so much higher this year than they were last year that
Well, last year, 2020 was the year of all the closings.
right.
19, we
Oh, was
finished
it?
19 strong.
Oh, that's right. It was the
remember?
end of 19, right?
End
That's
of
right.
19, yeah.
So yeah, so the beginning of 20. Yeah, that's right.
You
The
were
beginning
doing,
of 20
remember, I
was-
remember the
was
beginning
rough,
of
yeah.
20, you were like, oh, I'm not doing that well.
Right.
You weren't doing well to begin with.
No.
And you had questions. Then COVID hit. And you were like, oh, no. And
That's right. And we were
yeah.
shut down for May.
Right.
So yeah, so anyway, so looking at my numbers for this year, I was up significantly, but it's not a fair comparison. Like my end of the year numbers this was still not the best year I've ever had. You
Right.
know what I mean? So even though it was up from last year, it was an average year overall. So
Right.
but all that being said, the last couple weeks were pretty decent. Like I said, things are slower. There's not as much There's not as much stuff being delivered or books being released. But my guy is trained to put all that stuff out, so that wasn't bad. I mean, I came back yesterday and had a bunch of other distributor boxes that I had to. I worked a pretty long. Well, I say a long day, but I mean, I went in at about 8:30 yesterday, several hours before the store opened, so I could get all that stuff done before we opened, and then get all my orders and all that stuff caught up. So so I did all that yesterday, and then today, just processed Lunar and Penguin for tomorrow. So
there you go. Yep. All right. Well, hopefully things keep going well.
Yeah,
because that's what we need.
I mean, well, once again, Diamond. We didn't get Diamond until Friday of last week, and
I got an email today about that. Yeah,
it won't be until now Thursday, which is the day I'm off, so I won't have Diamond out until Friday again this week. So, that's frustrating because it's kind of par for the course for them. It happens like every year around this time. But having
email.
Well, but I'm saying, having two other distributors now, makes
Softens
you realize that. Well, but it makes you also realize that there's no excuse for it. Like that was always the norm, and we just kind of chalked it up to the holidays, and we dealt with it.
Right.
But two other distributors are able to get us the books on time every week. So I no longer buy the holiday BS because if Lunar can get me their books and Penguin can get me the books, then Diamond should be able to get them too. Especially since they're only shipping now less books than Marvel, than Penguin ships. So there's no reason for them to not be able to get this stuff on time. But it is what it is. I'll have Diamond. I mean, I'll have Marvel and DC tomorrow, but I won't have any Image or Boom or any of that stuff. Although I just put out last week's Diamond. I say it came in Friday. I'm wrong. It came in yesterday, which was Monday.
Jeez.
So I put it out yesterday. So that's all brand new stuff. It's staying on the wall tomorrow because it's only had a day to sell. I'm not pulling it off the wall already.
Right. Exactly.
So that's technically the new Diamond.
That's
for
this week's
week.
stuff.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yep.
Crazy stuff.
All right. You ready to get to some mailbag? We got a few things here.
Sure.
All righty. Let's see. What do we got? Got this here. Oh, all right. Let's see. Get this nice and flat.
All right. And you're doing it all with no hands too, which is awesome.
No hands. Look at me.
Yeah. It's all. I did that with my mind.
Oh, all right. First up this week, we have Martin Anderson says at Brightside_chat and at Arkham Comics. We watched the first 3 episodes of Wheel of Time and I kind of liked it. Maybe. I don't know. The vibe I got was more of a Shannara Chronicles, Legend of the Seeker show, and not so much Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones. Don't know if I'll continue watching. And he said he didn't read the books.
Yeah.
I didn't see the Shannara.
I've seen Shannara and read several of the books, and then Legend of the Seeker. I saw that show, and I've read every one of those books.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, again, but all that is saying is that it has a fantasy vibe because all of these things have a similar thread. They're all swords and sorcery and fantasy, and they all have their differences, of course, but there's lots of similarities. So you can watch any new fantasy show and ascribe it to lots of other shows that you've already seen.
Right.
Now, I know we talked about the Wheel of Time, and you jumped right out on it. I was, begrudgingly in on it, but I do have to say that you might have jumped out a little early because it actually wasn't bad.
Give it a shot. I was going to give it another shot because I jumped out after 3.
Right.
And I was, we'll talk more in checkout.
It does diverge
in real world, but
it does diverge from the books in several ways. But like I said, once I wrapped my head around that and kind of divested myself of the books and tried to just take it for what it was, I ended up enjoying the season overall. It's done now. It's only 8 episodes. It's not the best thing I've ever watched by far, but it wasn't. But I mean, it wasn't bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's It definitely wasn't.
But see, that's what's tough.
It wasn't
though.
like season 1 of Game of Thrones or even Lord of the Rings. Like, it's not as good as those things. But, again, going back to those other shows, I really liked the Sword of Truth books. Legend of the Seeker was a terrible show. Like, terrible. It only lasted 1 season, maybe 2. The Shannara Chronicles, great books. The show was terrible. So not everything is able to be successfully translated, into good things. But like I said, I think it wasn't bad. Like, it's not going to go down as the best. Like I said, it's the best thing you've ever seen. But we talked about that before. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Like, not everything has to be the best thing you've ever seen. It just has to be entertaining. And at the end of the day, it kind of was. So,
you know what I would say?
I'm not going to say that even if you went back to it, you'll end up loving it or even liking it, but it's probably worth. But I mean, it's probably worth another couple of episodes just to see.
Yeah, exactly. But what I would say to Martin is, like, if he didn't like, or if he's not sure if he wants to go back to that, the one I would suggest that I really liked was Carnival Row.
Oh, that was great.
That was awesome.
Which was completely original. That wasn't based on a book or anything.
No,
it was.
And that was Amazon too, wasn't it?
Amazon Prime, yeah.
Amazon Prime. So if you haven't seen that, Martin, check that out, because I was actually thinking of that the other day, because I'm like, that should have a season 2 coming fairly soon. Everything else is getting season 2s, but
there's still a scene in there that I go back to a lot in episode 1 when I'm trying to test my surround sound and stuff.
In Carnival Row?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's that great scene. I think it's episode 1. It might be episode 2 when they go into like the stronghold and the fairies are flying in all over.
Yeah.
It's great for your surround sound.
Yeah.
So I've gone back to that multiple times since it aired.
It's a fantastic series. I love the meaning of it. I mean, we love that one. But that's what makes stuff like Wheel of Time, it's so hard, because it might be like good, but good nowadays isn't good enough, because there's so much great stuff out there that you're like, I'm going to move on to, and then you name what we'll talk about in and
I'll be honest with you, like, to be fair to you, like, after 3 episodes, I wouldn't go back to any show either if I wasn't really on board with it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there's too much other stuff to watch.
Right.
And 3 episodes, like, I feel like you did give it a shot, because in most cases, I would say if I watched 3 episodes, and actually there is something I'm going to talk about in real world that's exactly the case of that, where I watched 3 episodes and that was enough for me. So, so I don't blame you if you don't go back to it. Yeah, because after
Marky
3 hours
wasn't
of something,
cutting it for you, huh?
yeah, after 3 hours or something, I don't go back, because I have although after last week, I don't have anything queued up to watch anymore, because I've watched it all. But I mean, there's too much other stuff to go to that.
Right.
And to go back to something that just
I,
doesn't
on the
grab
other
you.
hand, have a bevy of content to be able to behold, because I'm so far behind. You, on the other hand,
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
burn through your actual hardware.
I've told you at least a dozen other shows that I would watch before I went back to Wheel of Time. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I've given you so many shows that are great that I would rather you go to any.
Like, I don't watch them out of spite. You're like, I'm giving you plenty.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know.
But I would rather you go to any of those shows before you go back to Wheel of Time, because I think, if I tell you to watch it, it's because I think you'll enjoy it, and.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
I would rather you go watch Peaky Blinders or go watch something, watch something else.
That one didn't float my boat either.
Oh man, you're wrong.
I know.
You're wrong on that.
Well, that's my opinion.
I will
say.
Well, it's wrong. It's my opinion. Put on the subtitles and watch that show, man. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. But all right, we got a lot of mileage out of that one comment.
We sure did. Well, it would have come up in real world. I mean, it's just a conversation we would have had a little bit later anyway. So,
but this next one's going to be funny, because after that big long discussion that was spawned by that comment,
this one's going to be yup.
It's watch this.
And who's it from?
BJ.
He's going to be like so disappointed because there's no conversation.
He said, at brightside_chat. Ooh, I found something I diverged from TJ on. I love Christmas with the Cranks. I know it's totally dumb, but I think it's so funny. I even grabbed the book on Audible and listened to it. It's a little different and more detailed, but also not that great.
But he loves it.
I know. That's
well,
great.
I mean, but again, we all love things that are bad too, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we can recognize that they're bad and still love them
absolutely.
anyways.
But it's so funny. He goes, it's like, but he says, I found something I diverged from TJ on. I love Christmas with the Cranks. And then at the end, but also not that great.
Right. I love it, but
it's not that great. Kind of like the Brightside chat.
Exactly.
It's like, I love it. It's just not that great.
Right.
But yeah, no, when Jen and I were watching this, it's actually written by, the book is by, what's his name? He did, like Pelican Brief. He did,
John Grisham.
Is it Grisham? I think it is. I think it was Grisham.
Well, John Grisham did Pelican Brief. I know that.
And yeah, like, The Client and all those different books. And we were like, what does this have to do? Like Christmas with the Cranks. What does this have to do with that? And we're like, we didn't get it.
Well, but it's like Stephen King writing Shawshank, you know? I mean, it's just...
Well, it kind of is a horror story. I don't want that to happen to me.
Well, yeah, but people can write other things, you know?
Right. No, I know. I know. But yeah, it was, I got it at the end. I just didn't love it. And it's not that great. So, see, BJ, we can't agree. All right. BJ has another comment. It's been a few weeks. At brightside_chat. Okay. So I've been resisting this for a while, but since almost every comment ends up in the mailbag and you end up reading these, I have to have a laugh. Moist. And then he said, in quotation fingers, in quotes, he says moist. And I don't get it. Am I forgetting something?
Well, it's a trigger word. Like it doesn't bother me, but a lot of people just hate the word moist. Like they can't stand hearing it or, you know, people saying it around them. Yeah, it's a trigger. It doesn't bother me at all. I actually quite like things to be moist. But
like a brownie?
Yes, Duncan Hines.
I didn't know. What did we talk about that before?
I don't think I don't know why it came up on this show because we've never talked about it. I think he's just trying to trigger
us.
He's trying to trigger us.
Oh, it takes a lot more to trigger us than that. Yeah. Because he goes, I feel abusive. He goes, had to do it before you guys get famous, and then it wouldn't make the cut. Thanks, BJ. It's like,
well, he's true because we've talked about it. We only get a few comments, so they all make the cut.
They all make the cut, right?
We need to get to the point where we have.
Well, we don't want. I don't some want that are left to that point. But yeah, some like on the cutting room floor.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can't go over 30 a week, so. You know, if we ever get to that point,
we're almost there.
Yeah.
I'm not worried. Don't worry, BJ. We'll always read yours. Moist or dry?
Moist. Yeah. I'm just going to keep saying it now.
I know.
Hopefully there's some listeners out there that are
understand
banging on their steering wheels right now.
Moist?
Turning off the show.
You have lived a charmed life if moist triggers you. It's like this war's going on. There's things going on in the world that people are living in misery. People have COVID for God's sakes, and you're like, moist. That's it. I'm out.
I don't understand it, but it's just one of those words that's
funny.
People don't like. Yeah.
At Mike Myers Brunch. I'm not even going to try to say his. He's always changing. It's the Octavian boosters now or whatever. But anyways, at Mike Myers, our buddy Mike. Thank you at brightside_chat and at Arkham Comics for recommending Sex Education on Netflix. That was a great show.
Yes, it is. It's a great show. Again, I would rather you watch that than go back to Wheel of Time because it's a really good show.
Use some education.
Yes, I'm never too old to learn. but yeah, season
Practice
3 is
makes
done.
Perfect, John.
Yep. Season 3 is done. Season 4 on the way. So
they got 3 seasons of that.
Yeah, season 4 is coming.
They couldn't teach you everything in season 1.
Like you said, practice makes perfect.
All righty. All right. JR at Hooded Collector, our buddy JR, haven't heard from him in a while. He says at Brightside_chat regarding spider rankings. He has Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man 2, Homecoming, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man No Way Home, Amazing Spider-Man, Far From Home, Spider-Man 3, and Amazing Spider-Man 2. In that order. That's
significantly different from ours. Yes.
Yeah. Which made me wonder, like, how close are these JR? Like, meaning, like, now I could see, like, so
I
Into
can
the
see
Spider-Verse,
Into the Spider-Verse
Spider-2,
being
all of these
one. I
being
can
like,
see that.
Oh, yeah, because I had one, that was my one. And then I bumped it to 2. Who knows? 6 months from now, it might go
I don't
back.
see No Way Home being number 5. But again, opinion, right? Like,
yeah, but here's the thing. I could, looking at this list, I could understand why JR has it at number 5 if they're all like 1,
tied for
1B, 1C, 1, you know what I mean? And you had to, if they're all that close, but you're like, you know what? Because I could say, like, I could look at this and go, Into the Spider-Verse is just revolutionary. It's fantastic. It's animated. It's a piece of art. Okay.
Right.
Spider-Man 2, it was, for all intents and purposes, probably the best Spider-Man movie up until then.
Right.
People would say. Then Homecoming, but here's where I would differ. I would always, like, he has Spider-Man, the first one from 2002. He had that at number 4 behind Homecoming. And I would have been like, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then No Way Home. Yeah, I want a little bit of explanation on this.
Yeah.
See, maybe they are tighter than I think, but I mean, we agree with the last 2.
Yeah, although again, you and I both had Spider-Man 3, I think, dead last.
Yeah, I think we had those last, and then Amazing 2 was, we had that flip-flop.
Was second
from
to
him.
last.
Yeah.
Right.
But he goes on to say, I need to see No Way Home again in a quieter theater, second guessing how much I liked it versus how much I was led to like it by the audience. Now, that's weird considering he has it 5th, and is he implying it could drop lower?
Maybe.
And
right, because if that's the pinnacle of it,
right.
If it was influenced to put it at number 5, it could be number 9 by the time all was said and done.
Right. So. I know. Like after you see it again and you're like, wow, without the crowd cheering and all
that. But he might see it again and realize it wasn't the crowd. I actually liked it this much, and it might go up a notch or two.
Yes. Maybe that's the case. I got my fingers crossed for that. But yeah, it's like, see, I think seeing it in a crowded theater, every time I see a movie after the fact, like when we see Endgame and, Avengers Assemble, or he gets Cap gets the hammer. It's like, I remember every time I see that, I remember what it was like in the theater. That I draw on that, and that's what we've been missing all through the pandemic. Is that we missed having that experience. So like, to actually say I got to take that away to enjoy the movie, it's like that. Right. That seems a little backwards to me, because that's the experience of going to the movie. That's the only place you can get that. So,
right.
But yeah.
But what he's saying is you can get caught up in the crowd,
but that's the experience. That's fun though, isn't that the point?
Right. But it is. But what he's saying is, like, maybe he got wrapped up in the moment, and then realized that it wasn't all of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like he got, sucked into the tornado and then realized that it wasn't that great once he got in there,
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I want to hear more, JR. Let us know.
Go see it. Yes. Go see it again.
Did you see it again? Let us know. Yeah. All right. That'll do it. That'll do it for Mailbag.
Okay.
Whew. All right. You ready to get to the news?
Sure.
You ready to get to some news here? What do we? We only got a couple of things.
Only got a few things. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're gonna start out with a couple of big RIPs. Unfortunately, none of these are really in our wheelhouse, but like Betty White, of course, passed on.
I think
New
Betty
Year's
White's
Eve.
in everybody's
But that's the whole
wheelhouse.
thing. She's a cultural icon at this point, so she's in every wheelhouse. But yeah, Betty White passed at 99. You know, here's what was. There's nothing funny about somebody dying, but here's what's funny about this. I was in the grocery store the next day, New Year's Day. I had to pick up something at the grocery store, some cold medicine or whatever. And I'm standing in line, and there's like 2 different magazines on the stands celebrating Betty White turning 100. And I was like, well, that's putting the cart before the horse, isn't it? Because it was 17 days before her birthday. And I understand how publishing works. And, you know, you got to get things. It's not a newspaper, you know, you can't do it in one night. You know, magazines take some time to publish, but I'm like, maybe I should buy a couple of these. Like, are they collector's items now? Because she didn't make it to 100. But
well, she had tweeted out a couple of days before, her tweet from her was like she was prepping for her 100th birthday party. And I saw the tweet, and I was like, it had her picture on it. And I was like, oh no, did Betty White die? And then I saw it, and it was from her saying, oh, just getting ready to celebrate my 100th. I was like, oh, phew, she didn't die. Then like a day or two later, they're like, Betty White just died. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it's, but
kind of a bummer. Like I said, it is a bummer.
It is.
You know, and again, more
You're 99.
Again, she became an icon. Like, I can't remember the last thing I saw Betty White do. Like, I was not like was this giant fan
the proposal
of her. Right. But that was 20 years ago. You know, I mean, I always loved the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Like, I liked her growing up in different things, but like, she wasn't famous because of the things she was doing now. She was famous because she was old.
She was famous because she was so well liked.
And well liked.
She
like,
was
I wasn't a big
everybody.
You know, obviously the Golden Girls, people are screaming at us. She was in but I mean, I didn't watch the Golden Girls.
Oh, I love the Golden Girls.
I mean, I've seen it. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I've seen it, and it is funny. But I mean, I didn't watch every episode. I didn't watch it all the time.
Betty White was awesome on that. She was the ditzy,
she was
obviously the ditzy blonde, and she just from Olaf.
Yeah.
Was that the town that she was from? I think something like that.
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not taking anything
Saint
away
Olaf,
from the show.
I
know people love it, but it wasn't one of those ones that I watched every week, year after year, from start to finish. I would catch it if it was on, and we'd watch 2 or 3 episodes, and I wouldn't see it again for months. But in any case, obviously she was well known for that. But at the end, it was more just because she was getting close to 100, and people turned her into this.
She just did at some point. She just stopped aging. It feels like, right? And you were like, she's still going. Look at her go. Right. Well, now she's not.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So rest in peace, Betty White. We had a couple of others too. John Madden passed this week. I think the next day, was it New Year's Day or the day after? No, it had to be New Year's Day because they were talking about it Sunday during some of the football games, which was the 2nd. So I guess he passed on New Year's Day.
Yeah. I heard,
and then
I heard a awesome tribute to him that I thought was very like poignant, and it came from Scott Zolak, who he's a former quarterback. He does the color up here for the Patriots on the radio. He's also on the radio as well as a DJ, as a talk show host for sports radio. And he was talking about Madden, and I hadn't heard this from anybody else in all the different tributes that I heard, but talking about Madden and the video game, which everybody is that's what they're talking about for the most part. I mean, Madden's career is as a coach, as a player, and all that too. But the video game is what really stood out, and everybody is like gravitating towards. And one of the things the thing that Zolak kind of like was like talking about was how that video game and Madden lending his name to that and promoting that game, it brought kids and fathers together that otherwise would not have had that in common. So when the world took over in video games, a lot of kids stopped playing sports, and you had that gap of fathers that grew up playing football like Scott Zolak and love playing football, and then their kids are like, nah, I'm going to play video games. But with Madden, you had that add in common, and the kids could learn from the game and learn and to actually talk to their father about about football. And I thought it was a great, like, just something, a great thing that I never even thought of before, that like how that just brought father and son together, that normally if it wasn't there, they just would have drifted apart, and one would have, you would have had that old age get, old man, my old man likes football, I like video games, but this actually tied them together, and I thought it was a pretty cool tribute, and it's something I hadn't even thought of. So, but yeah, Madden going was a big surprise to me.
Yeah,
he's only
because he wasn't very old. He was
85.
Was he 85?
Yeah,
I didn't realize he was even that.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he was.
Yeah,
that
I heard he
old,
was 85. So
yeah. Well, so I mean, he wasn't super young, but
no, he's not 99.
He wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't Betty White age either. But
right. Yeah.
But few people get to 99, obviously.
Yeah,
and then there's one more, which you may not be as familiar with. Rob Bruce, who is really well known in the toy collecting world, but he was all over like Comic Book Men on AMC when that show was running. He passed away this week as well.
Oh, okay.
From all accounts, super nice guy. Like I said, big in the toy collecting world. He was the expert that got called in for the toy related things on Comic Book Men. Or like the guy similar to what they do on like Pawn Stars and stuff.
Yeah,
would come in and tell you all about that stuff. So he was younger. He was like in his 60s.
Oh,
so younger guy, but yeah, like I said, he passed away. I think also New Year's Day. But yeah,
wow.
So not a great start to the year when it comes to that. So
yeah, that's too bad. Too bad. All right. Well, all righty.
All right.
Move along.
So next up, so last week when we were talking about Hawkeye, we made mention that 2021 brought us 9 MCU projects, and we were kind of floundering around trying to figure out how many we were going to get this year, and kind of felt like 9 wasn't the norm. It's pretty close. It's pretty close to the norm. Turns out we are actually going to get 8 MCU projects this year, and 7 Star Wars projects this year. So, well, you say well. I mean, unless something gets delayed.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying it, because our next piece of news is Morbius getting delayed again. Yeah. So it's like, luckily, that's being delayed from this month until April. But who's to say stuff later doesn't get delayed? And well, before we get to that,
I was gonna say you're stealing my thunder, man. Several of these are Disney Plus projects, which are probably less likely to get delayed, than the studio projects. But yeah, that's a bunch of stuff. This basically that's 15 projects from Disney Plus. But also I saw today there's a list of the DC projects that we're getting this year. Ooh. And I stopped counting it over 20. Like, there is so much DC stuff coming this year. Now, it's not all for us because several of these are CW shows that we no longer watch. But they count. Like, they're still there.
Right.
And so between Marvel, DC, and Star Wars, there's like 35 there's like 3 projects a month every month of the year. So like, there's plenty to keep us busy.
Superman and Lois is starting back up like this week or next, I think.
Right. The Superman and Lois, like I said, there's all the CW stuff, which accounted for a good chunk of the list. But there's Titan Season 4, there's Doom Patrol, there's Harley Quinn, there's Sandman, there's like all kinds of other stuff that are coming that are all DC properties. Second half of Young Justice Season 4 comes this year. So there's a whole bunch of DC stuff too. So
are they even done with the first half yet? I'm a little behind.
Yeah, it ended this past week.
Oh,
I just watched them. I just watched them yesterday. But this past week was the last part of the last episode of part 1. I was 2 behind. I watched them both yesterday. And then I'm not sure when it comes back, but now it's on.
Yeah,
the
it's
break
about what I am then. A 2 behind.
Second season.
I was all caught up just a couple weeks ago. So
that's the one I keep forgetting to watch because for whatever reason, that's one of those odd shows that doesn't pop up on my
HBO Max doesn't
what
pop
to watch
up on
list.
the what to watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
HBO Max
And
doesn't.
so-
Netflix doesn't pop up on my what
No,
to
Netflix
watch.
doesn't either. But Netflix is usually all binge stuff anyways because it all
Right.
drops at once. So once I get in on one of those, I don't really forget because I watch it in a day.
You don't
a
leave
day or
until
two.
you're done.
Yeah, I watch it in a couple days. But yeah, for whatever reason, that one doesn't pop up, so I forgot about it. But
Right.
but I did get caught up on that. But yeah, there's a whole, like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff. I have the list of the Marvel stuff. I wasn't planning on going through it all, but some of the stuff that we talked about last week or that we missed last week were like Secret Invasion. We didn't bring that up.
I forgot about
Which
that.
was a big one. Yeah, we forgot about.
That's a series.
That's a series. Yeah. And I know we came up with like 5 or 6 last week. So
yeah. So we have the 7 Star Wars, which are I have them right here. Well, one of them's considered Book of Boba Fett, which already started.
Right.
We'll talk about that later. Andor, Bad Batch season 2, Obi-Wan, the Obi-Wan show, Lego Star Wars special, Mandalorian season 3 is this year, and then they have Disney 4 episodes of Disney Gallery coming, so probably for Obi-Wan and Boba Fett, Andor.
Now you're gonna make me pull up the list.
But honestly, out of all the Star Wars stuff, the one I'm looking forward to the most, obviously, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, Obi-Wan. For sure.
Andor, I think it'll be good.
It'll be good,
interesting, but it just doesn't have the history.
Right.
Um,
All right. Marvel. None of these have release dates on Disney Plus. They're all to be announced. But we have Moon Knight. We have Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, which is May 6th. She-Hulk, to be determined. Secret Invasion, to be determined. Thor Love and Thunder, July 8th. Miss Marvel, we forgot about last week. That's also mid-2022, Disney Plus. Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. Guardians Holiday Special we didn't talk about last week. And no mention of What If Season 2. So that's probably 2023.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, and then there's the non-MCU, but Morbius, which, we had just talked about. But that will hit 2022 at some point.
Right.
Like I said, it's been delayed for the 7th time, which is insane.
Right.
That it's got. But I give them kudos for delaying it for 3 months and not just a week. You know what I mean? Because I don't remember what it was we were talking about last time.
It was
but
Venom.
They delayed it. Oh, Venom, yeah. And they just moved it a week, which was like, why bother? At least they're moving it for 3 months. But it's odd to me that in the wake of Spider-Man still doing like at almost $2 billion now, they feel like this is not the best time to bring a movie out.
Well,
I would have it in the theaters tomorrow.
No, but that's one of the reasons they're speculating that it's one of the reasons is because Spider-Man is still doing so well, they don't want to pull from that. And
right, but this was what, January 28th or something? It was supposed to come out. By then, Spider-Man will have died down enough that it will be, the wave will still be there to ride for Morbius. Like, I think moving it to April is risky. But
not going to go anywhere. I don't think it can get worse numbers because it's in April. I don't know. I don't know.
I just think like people are clearly willing to be in the movies right now. Because again, who knows what happens April 1st? Maybe we're in like, I don't know, whatever comes after Omicron, whatever the next Greek number is. Megatron. We're in that variant. Yeah, we're in Megatron. We're in Optimus Prime.
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
hopefully I'm still within my 30 days.
There you go.
90 days.
90 days.
90 days. I have 90 days reprieve. Right. And I'm back at it.
That's it. But yeah, that's it. That's all we had for news.
All right. Alrighty. That's it then. You want to get to checkout for this week?
Sure.
All right, John. Hey, buddy. What am I gonna spend? What do we spend our money on this week?
All right. So the first book is from Image Comics, Stray Dogs, Dog Days. This was issue 1. It's only a 2-issue mini series because it's short.
Mini.
Same team as the last series. Tony Fleecs writing. Trish Forstner did the art on this. This is basically just a series of shorts following the dogs that we met in the previous miniseries.
Right.
In their previous lives. Like they're all missing
really
at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sad. But like these dogs are all missing because if you read the first series, their owners were all victims of a serial killer who took the dogs as trophies. But not everybody in the family was killed. It was traditionally just the mom, the lady of the house. And so the other family members, in addition to losing their loved one, have also lost their dog. So like each one of these is this dog is missing, and you get this little snippet of what their life was like in the house before they were taken.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was just kind of
gut-wrenching.
It was sad. There wasn't a lot of substance. There was no cohesive story through the whole thing. It was a series of shorts, basically.
Some of the shorts were like a page.
Yeah, one to 3 pages for each one. But it was still fun. As fun as it could be, when you're talking about serial killing and stealing dogs.
It's actually the worst version of what a serial killer does.
Right.
It's like, other than the actual killing of the person, right?
Right.
But we all like John Wick. It was founded on this, right? It's like you do not harm a dog, and it doesn't physically or mentally or anything. And these poor dogs, and you're reading this, and you're just like, this is brutal.
But there's that one little story with the stick, and they're going crazy about the stick and the balls, and the other dog wants to trade for the stick, and he digs up somebody's forearm and hand, and they're like, "That's a terrible stick. We don't want that."
But they don't know what it is. It's just the skeleton. It's just the bones of an arm.
I'll go put this back where I found it, and
trade it for a ball. I mean, it's great because all the dogs are they talk like dogs. They like you would do, that's what we do anyways in our house. We always put that voice into our dogs, like, okay, I'll do this. And but yeah, it is. It's heart-wrenching, the entire thing.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine issue 2 is just the rest of the dogs doing the same thing. That, that we just didn't get to in this first one. But yeah, it was good, I guess. It didn't really do anything to advance the story at all. It was just kind of
just made you see what the dog went through,
right? What their life was like before they were taken.
Before they were taken.
Because some of them it seemed like
the murder.
Exactly. Yeah. Some of them were closer to the event than others, but yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I get. If you like Stray Dogs, if you like Stray Dogs, which we really did, then it's worth picking up. You definitely want to get
absolutely.
If you didn't read the miniseries, there's no reason to go pick this up because you're not going to get anything from it.
No.
So I would say
that
would be my recommendation, I guess.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you read it, you've probably already picked this up anyways. So,
so moving on.
Moving on. The next one is from Boom Studios. It was Dune, Whisper of Caladan Seas. I say issue number 1. This was just a one-shot. This was written by Brian Herbet, who is the son of Frank Herbet, the original author of Dune, and Kevin J. Anderson, who's also a big science fiction writer. Had art by Jakub Rebelka. So it took me a little bit to figure out when this was taking place, but this story is actually taking place during the siege of the Atreides household. If you've seen the movie Dune or read the book, when the Harkonnens come in and ultimately kidnap and kill Leto Atreides. This is the battle that was going on. There's mention of the Atreides several times through the book, but you don't really see them. This really focuses more on the soldiers that are in this battle and not really knowing what's going on. But it kind of focuses on a group of soldiers that are stuck in a cave-in while this is taking place, and they're trapped with, I guess, what they call a jungler, which I don't remember ever being mentioned in the movie. Maybe in the books these characters exist, but they're basically storytellers who travel and tell stories, but I guess have the ability to get people kind of like really sucked into their stories. And so he's trying to console these people that are basically trapped and are probably going to die and don't really know why they're dying or what's going on. And it was just kind of an interlude of that battle from a different perspective. And I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think the art was the greatest in this book at all. And it did take me a little bit to settle into it because, like I said, I had to kind of figure out when and where this was taking place. But as we got towards the end of it, and especially the end, which had a little bit of, I guess, magic involved too. Right?
You said that. Yeah, I know. You said.
Well, I was trying to think of the right word. Like, I don't know what the right word is, but I mean, without again, this book is a couple weeks old already, but like ultimately they get sucked into the story so much to the point where they all basically drowned in this, cave-in. So they're like literally transported to the story that this guy is telling. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting. It didn't do a lot to advance the overall Dune storyline, but it was just, like I said, something that was happening.
It's almost like a sub-story of it, yeah.
Right. A little sub-story that I just thought was interesting. I actually really enjoyed it. So
yeah, it was. I wasn't like completely fascinated by it. I had a little trouble picking up like where this was taking place.
Like I said, it did take a little bit to figure that out.
Right. And then, but by the end of it, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Why? All right. Yeah, it's a little, if you're super into Dune, I would say you would probably, like if you've read the books and stuff, because this has, I don't think it's anything to do with the books. It's literally a sub-story that.
It's a sub-story. Like I said, it was just written for this thing.
I bet that if you've read the books, you'll get more out of this than we did.
Maybe. We'll have to ask Dr. Joe.
You'd have a little bit more detail on it.
Right.
You'd know more.
Well, like I said, maybe there's more.
Like, we were lost for a little bit of it, so.
Well, maybe there's more descriptions of what like the jungler is and kind of exactly what they do. But, basically he was telling them this story to soothe them. They were all, obviously Arrakis, if you've seen the movie, is a desert planet. There's no water. And so like they're dreaming of water, being back on Caladan, which was the home world of the Atreides before they went to Arrakis, which was a lot of water, this and that.
Yeah.
And like I said, they get so sucked into the story that they drown. Like they were found with water in their lungs to the point where the Fremen that found them were like freaked out and closed off the cave and didn't want to have anything to do with it. So, I don't know. Like I said, I thought it was interesting. Could you do without it? Of course. Like it's not, it didn't change the story in any way, but I don't know. Like I said, I thought it was an interesting 30 pages or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
It was that.
Which would you pick as our show title?
I think Dune. Yeah, well, I think Dune probably, yeah. I mean,
all right.
They were both fine. Like, neither one of them at the end of the day were, like, awesome.
No.
You know what I mean?
No, but Dune had more substance.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Dune actually did a little bit more. Like, at the end of the day, Stray Dogs didn't really do anything to set up the story at all or anything like that. So
no, you have to have read. Well, for Dune, you have to have a familiarity of Dune.
Well, you do for
Otherwise,
sure,
you're really lost.
But I would say the same thing about that Stray Dog.
Oh, yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, you both have to have a background. Yeah. So,
Um,
all right, we'll go with Dune. I can
Yeah.
dig that.
okay.
All right, we'll go with that. Let's see. What do we have coming up next week? Get to that before we start talking other stuff.
We have Bylines in Blood, issue number 1.
All right.
And
do you know anything about that yet?
I don't know anything about either one of these. They were just on my invoice.
Mystery reads. I don't even
have. Yeah, I don't even have them yet because, as we established, Diamond's going to be late. But there's also Monkey Meat number 1.
Ooh.
I had to put that on the list. I don't know what that's about at all, but Monkey Meat has to be there, right?
Hope it's not a menu. Ugh.
Yeah, right.
Yucky. Ugh. All right, that sounds good. Monkey Meat and Bylines in Blood. I kind of like the Bylines in Blood. I like the sounds of it. I like the cover.
The title. Yeah.
Monkey Meat is weird.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good. Yeah, I'm sure it will be weird as well. But
a new turning anthology. Is that what it says? Turning. I think it.
I don't even know what that
Thrilling.
means.
Sorry, I'm reading
Thrilling.
the small.
Okay.
Yeah, a new thrilling anthology.
Okay.
So we'll see. That's what it says on the cover. So it's just small writing. I'm reading it off on my computer screen right now.
Yeah.
So, but all right.
You
What
don't
else?
have to explain yourself.
I know. All right. What else did you read?
So not a lot, honestly. Like we talked before the show. We were both sick. I didn't read a ton. But one of the books I did read that I really liked, I've already talked about the first 2 issues, was DC versus Vampires number 3.
Oh yeah.
So again, I don't know if you've picked up on this book at all yet, but it's pretty good. I'm really enjoying it.
No, I haven't.
Again, it's the DC heroes, some of whom are being turned into vampires, and they're being fought by the other DC heroes. I don't want to give away who's turned and who isn't because it kind of ruins it if you haven't read it. But obviously they're all suspicious of everybody because they don't know who's been turned and who hasn't, and they're freaking out because some of these characters, in addition to being vampires who are already like supernatural and powerful, are powerful superheroes on top of it. You know? I mean, it's kind of like going back to Deceased. Like when Superman gets turned, that's not good for anybody, right? Like it's just it's very similar to Deceased in that manner where they're getting turned and they're mega powerful and But yeah, I don't know. It's just been fun. It's James Tynion is writing it. Otto Schmidt is doing the art. I like both of them, so it's been fun. It's been a fun series.
All right. How are you doing on Devil's Reign? You caught up on that?
I read the first
2. That's all that's out.
2. Well, then no, I haven't. I've only read the first one still. Then I haven't read number 2 yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Still on my pile of books to read.
2's good. I love the humor.
Yeah.
Just a good book. And I like where they're going with it. I'm having a hard time keeping the shows and the books, and it seems to be a decent crossover there between the last book to this book to what we've seen in the TV shows, and what we know, and you're like, oh, all right, because of Kingpin and everything, and I'm like, what, did I see this? Did I read this? Did I watch this? I'm like, what's going on here? But that's really good. Let's see, what else did I read? How about Newburn number 2? Remember that?
I read that. Yeah, I read that a few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Isn't it?
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like the whole idea of that. And Oswald's, regarding the matter of Oswald's body. I
haven't read the second issue of that yet.
Still good. Yeah. They're, you remember it at the end of
I kind of remember, yeah.
Yeah, they're setting everybody up
where the first one ended.
Right.
Yeah, I just haven't read number 2.
They're organizing everybody together.
Right, and putting their team of misfits together.
Yeah.
So.
Going back, Joker, number 10. Did you read that one?
I did.
With Gordon's son and everything. Yeah. That was gotta relive that. That series there is we joked, no pun intended, sorry. We joked for a while that it should be, Commissioner Gordon book, but
Right.
it really is. It is the Joker. It's the effect that he has on people.
It is.
It's such a, I mean, this book is, I think it's going to be a great trade.
Yeah.
For anybody that doesn't know, like when we saw Joker, and I remember telling Jen about it, like, oh, having a little sympathy for him. He's because the movie was called Joker, but it really was about, what was his name in that? I forgot off the top of my head.
I don't remember either. Honestly.
Yeah, it means something too. Anyways,
I can't remember.
But Jen was like, "Oh, come on, you can have a little sympathy for him." I'm like, "No, but I know who he is." And it's like, when you read this and you see what this guy has done and how he affects people and the torment that he puts people through. And this is just one example of what he did to Gordon and his family, but it's such a good book, such a good series. Right. Surprising to me.
Yeah.
Let's see. King Spawn, I'm still reading. Let's see. What else do we got here? Nightwing. That was fast.
I was going to bring up Nightwing too. Like, the issue itself wasn't the best issue, but it was great in the way that it was like, that book's never been done before. Like, I guess you didn't pick up on this. Every page was laid out. So that book was designed that you could pull out all the pages and it's one big piece of art from page 1 to page 22. Oh,
really?
It's sequential all the way through. And so in doing that, it limited some of the dialogue that could happen because it was set up to be one giant picture. It's a mural.
Yeah.
And so you don't catch it as much when you're reading it. Like, I knew that going into it because it was part of the marketing for it. But as you're reading it, it's just one long scene that just keeps going and going and going.
Well, so they basically pulled like an uncut scene from a movie, or like what they do with Daredevil or 1917.
Right, exactly. It's like the hallway shot or something like that. Yeah, where it's just one take. And that whole book was one take. And
I tell you though, it was quick. It's a quick read.
It was quick, right.
But that ending, you're like, please, no, please, no, please.
Right.
Oh.
Well, because it's always about the dogs. Right?
It's awful. And I was like, and then when they took the dog in the middle of it, I was like, oh, here we go, John Wick.
Right.
I'm like, he's going John Wick on them.
It's Dick Wick. Richard Wick.
Dick Wick. Unfortunately, that was your nickname in high school.
It was. Unfortunately, you're right. That's funny.
Oh boy. Whew, my flush. Whew. All right. On that note. Oh boy. Oh man. That was tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that getting back to the book, it was I thought it was a really good story. I liked the story.
It was, but like you said, it was quick, but that was part of that was a product of the way it was laid out because it didn't lend itself to like stopping and having panels of dialogue because it was motion. Like he was supposed to be in motion through the whole book. So
which he was.
Right.
Did you read Robin number 9, issue 9? Did you read that one yet?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Fights a guy that's like built out of acid.
No.
Okay. All right.
No.
That's the only thing I could tell you that you'd get it, but
yeah, I haven't read that one yet.
Right.
Like I said, I didn't read a lot last week, but I did go back. Something else that we didn't talk about in the news. This is actually from a couple of weeks ago, and our shows, we haven't really done a lot of regular shows, but George Perez made an announcement. I don't know if you're familiar with this either. George Perez, comic book artist from the 80s. I've talked about him multiple times. My favorite artist growing up, New Teen Titans, all that stuff. Announced that he has terminal cancer a couple of weeks ago. Basically, he has about 6 months to live, has decided to not spend his remaining time seeking any kind of treatment. Like, he's just going to live his life and, go out. So,
Right.
So I revisited some of his work this last week because, like I said, he was always one of my favorites, if not my favorite artist as a kid. And so I went back and read JLA Avengers, which I had actually never read before, but it's obviously a Marvel DC crossover. Took place in like 2003. It's 4 issues, long issues though. They're like 45 pages each or so.
Okay.
So it's basically like a 6-issue miniseries. But yeah, it was fine. Like, at the end of the day, it was a late 90s, early 2000s story that was just so convoluted with dialogue, and like there was a lot of stuff happening in these books. Ultimately, wasn't the best story I've ever read, but the art is just like putting all those characters together, all the Avengers, all the Justice League, and everybody else. Basically everybody in Marvel and DC was pulled into this story. And he is known for just doing these giant pinup pages of like every character, and it was just awesome to go through and see that. So for me, just reliving some of his artwork, and I'll probably going to go through and read some of the Teen Titans stuff and things like that because, like I said, I always enjoyed him, and it's kind of a bummer that he's not the youngest guy in the world, but he's still young enough that he shouldn't be going through this yet. So that's a bummer for anybody that's a big 80s comic book fan. If you didn't, you love George Perez, he did it all. So, so like I said, we didn't talk about that, which is a bummer, but I read those 4 issues, which were, like I said, ultimately enjoyable for the art, but the story itself was kind of convoluted and not the best. But again, which is always what happens when you're trying to cram like all 900 characters into a 4-issue story. So
just the description of it is convoluted. You're like, all of these characters, it's crazy.
Everybody was there, so it was pretty neat.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we wrap up on that for our checkout? You want to head over to Real World?
Sure.
Alrighty then. Where are we? All right. Buckle up, everybody. John's had some time.
I've got a lot here.
Put your feet up. Get a drink.
Well, it seems more like the list isn't as long as the time it took because a lot of these are entire seasons of things, So, are you? I was like, are you popping popcorn? So,
getting ready to relax.
Yeah. So, first thing, I started watching What We Do in the Shadows. I don't know if you've ever seen this. It's Taika Waititi is the producer of the show. It's on Hulu. It's a vampire. I think it's actually on like FX or something, but I'm watching it on Hulu. It's a comedy. It's a vampire comedy show. But this is what I'm watching like by myself right now. Like I said, when Lydia's not around, I always try to find shows to watch that she probably wouldn't like. But my son came and told me, he's like, you got to watch this show. It's great. It's been good. I wouldn't say it's great. It does have its funny moments. I'm only like 6 episodes into I think there's like 30 episodes total, so I haven't watched all that much of it. But it is pretty funny. So I think you could probably check that out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Sex Education. We talked about it. I finished season 3. Again, this goes back a couple of weeks. We finished that weeks ago, but definitely finished that.
Did you guys watch that one together? Would Jen like it?
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Lydia likes it. I mean, again, it's in the title. There's a little bit of raunchy that happens. I mean, it's sex education. Little bit of Porky's going on, but it also has a good
Spying
story.
through a hole in the wall?
No, but there's set. Like, I don't know what Jen's tolerance is for watching stuff like that, so it's hard to say.
Yes,
but,
you do.
Well, I knew what it was when we were 18.
Not very high. Not as high as yours.
Yeah, but yeah, I think she would like it because at the end of the day, there is story behind. Like, there's characters there.
Right.
It's like Euphoria. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Not as bad. It's nowhere near as bad with the with the content that Euphoria has.
Right.
But there's character development and there's show beyond just the sex and the comedy stuff. You know what I mean?
So she might like it.
I actually think
not.
she might like it. Yeah, you might not. All right. The next one, this is the one I was referring to when I talked about watching 3 episodes and being done.
Oh, scandal.
And then you're going to question me because I actually texted this to you. Station 11 on HBO Max. I watched the first 3 episodes of this.
You bailed?
I was kind of all in after episode 1, kind of waning a little bit through episode 2, and by the end of episode 3, I was done. So
really?
it went so quickly off the cliff for me that...
really? What happened?
Yeah. I don't know. It's not good. Like, I don't... It's just... I don't... I just... I thought the set... Like, I don't know how much of it you watched because I know you started it.
No,
I thought you said you did. I thought you said you had started it.
No, I hadn't started it. I've been looking at it. Every time I scroll through HBO, I'm like, oh yeah, John said to watch that, so I haven't
This
yet.
is very, like, very close to home in the sense that there's a pandemic that breaks
a lot
out.
Of that going on, yeah.
And the first episode was kind of like the beginnings of the pandemic. Like we're in right now, like people hoarding. Like, it was very reminiscent of COVID in the beginning days, like people hoarding food and toilet paper and groceries. So all that stuff is kind of going on through episode 1. Like, people are coming to grips with this pandemic that's hitting. Episode 2, it kind of it jumps. It like jumped like 8 months or something. And so now you're like into this pandemic. And then episode 3 jumped like 10 years or something. Like, it just kept jumping, and I found it less interesting the further it jumped away from. Like, it jumps 10 years to like a post-pandemic world where like the pandemic is kind of over, but society is like crumbled. Like, it just destroyed the world. Like, it
Don't
wasn't
like the sound of that.
Very, very post-apocalyptic, you know.
Oh, your favorite.
And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I was really digging the first episode. I was kind of getting into it, and then by episode 3, I was done. So I don't recommend it, but your mileage may vary. You know, like I said, you may find it different.
May vary. Look at that.
Yeah, you may find it different. but yeah, I don't know. I probably won't go back to that one.
All right.
Okay. Watch The Witcher season 2.
Yes.
Excellent. It was, I guess, like, I kind of didn't like it as much as season 1. I found it much easier to follow. Like, it was it was very linear in the sense that, like, you weren't jumping around. Yeah, you weren't jumping around and trying to figure things out. But
they did go back in time at times, but it was well defined. Like, they had flashbacks.
It was, but I was just kind of whelmed by it. Like, it's not bad. Yeah, I didn't find it bad at all, but at the end of the day, I liked season 1 more, I think.
See, what I liked about it is, let me actually agree with you. But I think what is going on by the end of it, when you get to the final episode, and literally the last 10 minutes of it, it basically wraps everything up and tells you this is just the beginning. Right. Right? Now, so it's like, it's all world building. But with that in mind, I thought season 2 was a great, like, singular story to carry you through. And what I didn't understand all the way through the season, and this isn't spoilers or anything, but there are little things, there are secondary, tertiary stories going on, right? And I'm like, what do these have to do with anything?
Yeah.
Then at the end, it all comes together, and that's when
Right.
I mean, I enjoyed it all the way through because I like the characters. I mean, Henry Cavill's like, I told
He's
Jen,
awesome, and
he's
it-
on my bucket list.
Right.
It's like the guy's awesome, but
And it did finish stronger. Like, it did finish very strong. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
But I found myself just a little, again, I don't even want to say bored, but just a little whelmed going through the first part of the season. It was just like, I don't know. This is okay, but it's not, not great.
I know what you're saying, because there are times you'll pick your phone up and be like, what are they doing now? And you'll do, but you want to get through it because every episode, there's something very redeeming about it. You want to watch the episodes, the battles with the monsters and all. But it was those little extra stories going on. But I actually want to go back and watch it again because knowing what I know now at the end, I'm like, I'll bet you that those stories mean so much more. But we had no idea what like the elves and all of this stuff that's going on. And that's what made me think about Carnival Row. And a lot of elf stories in here. And you're like, why am I paying attention to this?
Right.
But it all comes together at the end.
It does.
It's maybe next week we could do a little bit of Kryptonite on it. I have an idea, but
maybe I have to watch it again. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because as we'll see, there's a lot more on my list.
Yeah.
Like, I already don't remember with The Witcher season 2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So going back in another week will be tough, but
no, we can have a discussion on it, but
yeah.
But yeah, I really liked it. Really, I mean, I watched season 1 twice, so
yeah,
watching
you did.
season
See, and
2.
I never went back and watched the first season again, but
yeah.
But okay. Yeah. All right, we watched Being the Ricardos.
Oh, actually,
which is
so before we leave The Witcher, did you see that there's another season coming? Not of season 3, but there's another The Witcher.
Yeah, there's
what's it called?
I did see it. It's like Michelle Yeoh, I think, is in it, if I'm not mistaken.
The Witcher
there's
Blood Origin.
Yes, I did see
It's
that.
coming this year. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh.
But that's not the animated show that we also know is coming.
Right.
Because we're supposed to be getting an animated show as well.
Oh, really?
So they're kind of all in on The Witcher.
Yeah.
At
but
Netflix.
yeah, the Blood Origins it's the history. It's like goes back in history. Obviously, Blood Origins.
Right.
But that looks you saw the preview for it, right? At the end of the season.
Yeah.
It's like end credit scene or whatever.
Right.
That looks very well made by the same
It
people.
does. And I like Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah.
She's always good. So
looking forward to that.
Cool.
So, all right, moving on.
All right. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I watched Being the Ricardos, which is on Amazon Prime. It's the story of Lucille Ball.
Mm-hmm.
It was decent. If you're not familiar, it's Nicole Kidman is Lucille Ball. Javier Bardem is Desi. This basically takes place around 1 week of filming, one episode of the show, but then flashes forward and backwards, throughout their lives.
Right.
It was interesting. Like, I knew how famous and how kind of powerful they were in Hollywood at the time, but I guess maybe I didn't realize how they were pretty big in Hollywood.
In particular, yeah.
Her in particular, but that's what I'm saying. Him too, and that's what I didn't realize. Like, you always knew that she was very influential, very famous, very powerful. And I always thought that he was just riding her coattails, but that's not really the case. Like, he's the one that was famous before her and fought to get her into things, and actually helped her career. Once the show took off, it swung the other way, but he was very responsible for getting her going in the TV show and in Hollywood. So yeah, it's interesting. Again, I'm not going to say it was, it wasn't the best movie I've ever seen, but it was interesting. And I respect Lucille Ball. Like, I was never the biggest fan of the show. Even as a kid, it always felt old to me growing up.
Well, it was even when we were kids.
Well,
it
right,
was old.
but I can appreciate how
Oh yeah.
what she did, what she did and how funny she was. But I never loved the show, but
Right.
but the movie was like I said, it was good. I thought it was pretty good.
You know who was a huge fan and somebody that we would have looked at and been like, oh wow, and he was hugely influenced by Lucille Ball, was John Ritter.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, he said, like, when he did Three's Company and he did all that, the physical humor and everything, that he was so
influenced
known
by
for.
her.
Yeah. He loved Lucille Ball, grew up like wanting, loving that humor and loving everything that she did and how she worked like that. And it influenced his career. And it was like, and that's somebody that we grew up watching more to our age, watching John Ritter. And,
and she was very influential on my life because she's responsible for getting Star Trek on
Star
the air,
Trek, right.
Which was huge for me as a kid. Right. And even now, I mean, Star Trek brought me to Star Wars, and then Star Wars brought me, to everything else.
The bright side chat.
Exactly. But, without them, there's no Star Trek. And so, things would have been different. Because, again, if there was no Star Trek, maybe there wouldn't have been a Star Wars. Like that definitely laid the groundwork for science fiction and
I mean, we had 2001.
I mean, we had other things, right? I know
things.
we had other things, but like, and Trekkies and Star Wars guys will always argue one's better than the other and blah blah blah. But like without Star Trek being there, science fiction would look very different.
Yeah,
so that was a big influence there. We watched The Unforgivable, which was the Sandra Bullock movie on Netflix. I don't know if you saw that.
Nope, haven't seen it yet. Good.
She was basically convicted of murder, spent time in jail, gets out after 10 years, and she's trying to put her life back together. Again, one of those movies where like I'm watching it and I'm not feeling bad for her at all. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't play a very likable character, and I really felt like she was just getting everything she deserved because she wasn't doing anything to help herself.
Right.
And then there's the twist, which always comes like,
of course,
half hour before the movie ends, and I'm like, oh, So, but yeah, I'm just watching this movie and I'm just kind of getting mad at her the whole time. I'm like, man, you did this and you're coming out, you're not listening to anything anybody's telling you, you're not taking any advice, you're doing all this stupid stuff and keep getting in trouble, and it's like, and then you're like, oh, okay. now I feel bad for you. So well, you'll see. I mean, when you see, you'll know when you see it. You'll know what I'm talking about, because it's just like she just doesn't come off very likable. Like, she just comes off as somebody that's making too many mistakes and doing stupid things, and you just don't feel bad for her until you realize what's driving the whole thing, and you're like, okay, well, it's what they always say, right? Like, you don't judge somebody from the outside because you don't know what. You don't know what shoes they've walked in or whatever. So
absolutely, somebody always has it worse. Somebody always has it better.
And really played out with that character in that movie. Okay, next, this one I texted you about. I don't know if you got a chance to watch it. The Harder They Fall, which is also a movie on Netflix.
Nope.
Starred Idris Elba, Jonathan Majors. Who else? Zazie Beetz was in it. Regina King. Lots of people. It's a Western movie. Kind of like The Hateful Eight in a way. Very like, not even The Hateful Eight. It kind of reminded me of Knight's Tale. Yep. What's his name? Joker. Heath Ledger. Where it was like, obviously it's a period thing, but it has like kind of modern day music and like it kind of had that kind of feel to it. But it was actually really good. Really great movie and just unbelievable, like, for home theater. Like,
oh yeah,
just one of the best. Again, this isn't a home theater podcast. We always talk about streaming versus physical media and blah blah blah. But as far as streaming goes, this thing was up there with like Six Underground and some of the other ones that were like really good. Yeah, it was really good.
Cool.
You would like it just for that. But then on top of it all, it was just a really good fun movie.
Cool.
So far, my biggest recommend of the list is that one. You definitely need to check it out.
All right.
Then the opposite of that was The Power of the Dog, which is also a Western, stars Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah.
And
I heard this was bad.
Jesse Plemons, I think is his name, the kid from like Friday Night Lights, and terrible. Just like 2.5 hours of like, is literally anything going to happen? Like, just nothing happened at all. Who was it? Oh, it had I'm bad with names all of a sudden. MJ from the Sam Raimi movies. What's her name? Interview with the Vampire. You know what I'm talking about. She was in it as well. But yeah, just like so dull. Just like watching paint dry or listening to the Brightside Home Theater podcast.
Thanks.
I just had to get that out there, you know. Because it's like watching paint dry.
That was
your famous review.
My famous review, listening to paint dry in Dolby Atmos.
In Dolby Atmos.
Or Dolby Surround, whatever. But yeah.
Okay. So big don't recommend on that one. I wouldn't waste my time.
The movie, not the podcast.
The movie. The podcast is fantastic. Definitely worth your time. I don't listen to it, but it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah,
I just can't get to it ever. I don't have enough time. Okay. Moving right along. The Irregulars, which was a series on Netflix, kind of based around Stranger Things-ish, like teenage-ish kids, but it's kind of built around Sherlock Holmes and Watson mythology. Like Sherlock and Watson are here, but they're not the main. Basically, Watson is like taking on these kids to help him solve like these supernatural cases. So it was kind of Stranger Things, kind of Sherlock Holmesy. One season on Netflix. It was fun. Again, wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. With the list of things that you have to watch that are better, you'll probably never watch this. But but if you ever get caught up to the point where there's nothing else, it's fine.
Okay. If you're ever desperate like you.
I was getting desperate by that time.
Yeah.
It was like I was running out of stuff. All right, so next we had a movie day. And
oh my God. It's
got my blue. Oh yeah. This was like Tuesday. I told you this. I got my
we're dating everything now.
Blu-ray player set up and started watching I had bought a bunch of movies that I had never watched, you know. So I kind of started going through a bunch of 4K movies that I hadn't seen. So first up, we watched The Hitman's Bodyguard 1 and 2.
Okay. I've seen those, yes.
These were fun. Yeah, they were
They're
fun.
Awesome.
Again,
they're great. Ryan Reynolds, Samuel Jackson, and then the second one with her. It's
Salma
fantastic.
Hayek. Yeah. They're a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Very much like what was that one? Red Notice or whatever was recently on Netflix.
I haven't seen that yet. Yeah, I'm waiting for Joe.
Very similar feel to that. Ryan Reynolds. I felt like he's not my favorite actor. Like I like Ryan Reynolds. But every character is Deadpool. Like every character is Deadpool.
Well, every character is Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not an actor. It's like
so
but he's so likable. How do you not like that?
He is likable. But some of the jokes just felt a little dad jokey and a little bit forced.
Well, that's the point. Yeah.
But yeah, they were a lot of fun. Funny side note on that, because like I said, it was a new Blu-ray player. I'd set it up. Somehow it was set up to play in music mode and not like movie mode. I guess somehow in the installation when I was watching these, it was set up wrong. So I'm watching these movies and I'm like, man, I don't hear anything really happening through.
So, your receiver was in music?
It was in music mode
so
instead
it was
of
spreading
like movie
the front
mode.
stage. Yeah,
right.
That's what it does.
So it was showing Atmos, but it wasn't
course.
really playing anything. And so I'm like, man, I'm not really like these movies just must not have very good effects because I'm not really noticing anything.
Yeah, you should have
and then
game mode.
Then I got to the next movie, which I also hadn't seen, 1917. And by then,
oh boy,
by then I had fixed that.
Yeah.
And that was sound all over the place.
Yeah. Awesome
but
movie.
Yeah, awesome movie. Yeah, like I said, I hadn't seen it, so
now you can go back and listen to my podcast about it.
I can. You're right.
Yeah.
Then we watched Life, which you told me to watch. Another Ryan Reynolds movie.
What'd you think
Rebecca
of that?
Ferguson. It was okay. Like it was very alien, you know.
I watched it for a Halloween movie. Or like
you watched it.
vibe.
Yeah, so like I found it kind of like Alien, not so much horror and as it was sci-fi.
Right.
But yeah, it was interesting. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I liked the end of it. I thought the ending was really good.
It was good, and it was a little rope-a-dope because you're
that's the
you're
idea.
thinking you're thinking you're following one thing and you end up not. So yeah, I don't know that we're going to get a sequel, but it
the
definitely
sequel's not
could.
looking good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Next up, we watched Snake Eyes, which
with Nicolas Cage.
No.
Oh.
The G.I. Joe Origins Snake Eyes. Had I'm not sure who the actor is that played Snake Eyes. I'd never really seen him, but the guy that played his opposite, Storm Shadow, is the guy from Warrior on HBO Max.
Yep.
He's that guy. This is, it's G.I. Joe Origins, Snake Eyes. So it was his origin. Yeah. It was okay. At the end of the day, it wasn't that good.
It's a G.I. Joe movie, John.
But it was right. It was a G.I. Joe movie. You know, good martial arts and fight scenes and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it wasn't the best movie.
Yeah.
And then last but not least, this will surprise you that I've never seen this movie until this week. The Martian.
Really?
Yeah. Which I'm not going to describe because everybody else in the world has already seen it. But I had never seen it. I never owned it. Never went to the theater to see it.
Wow.
So obviously you've seen it, so you know. Great movie. Really good in 4K and Atmo, like really good stuff happening there. So yeah, watch that.
It's a great movie. I just gave
Yeah.
one away.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, I'd never seen it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Then that took us to Wednesday. We watched the Book of Boba Fett.
Jeez, we're still on Wednesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett. Why don't we talk about that?
Yeah.
That way I can get involved a little bit here.
Meh.
Meh. Well,
yeah.
I think
it was okay.
It was okay.
It was okay. Yeah.
We did just come off Hawkeye. We did just come
We
off
did.
of
Yeah.
Spider-Man No Way Home. And you're like, I felt like, as well.
Yeah.
But I was happy to be back with Star Wars. And
sure.
I think as an opening episode, it was good. I'm hoping for more.
I'm too.
hoping they elaborate on some more. I liked the flashback. We'll talk spoiler free.
Yeah.
But the flashback on how we all know who
Well, we all
is.
know
How
he survived. Yeah, he
so
survived the
spoiler.
Sarlacc pit.
Yeah,
so
how he got out of the Sarlacc
we got to
pit.
see him get out of the pit.
That was pretty
and
cool.
what happened, kind of what happened to him after that on Tatooine.
I like
how
how
he
they're
lost his
doing
armor.
He's dreaming it.
Yeah. I just felt like some of that was a little slow, but I was okay with it because it was telling the story. But I found like when we got to the action scenes that were supposed to be more high energy, they weren't quite that great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel as good as The Mandalorian, which is done by the exact same team, Oh, well, not quite. I mean, this was directed by Robert Rodriguez, but it's written by Jon Favreau.
Yeah.
So same team, obviously, but I'm hoping for more.
I'm sure they're going to elaborate and they're going to open up to more stuff and make us go, wow. I just thought like the first episode really didn't have a lot to make you go, wow. It was kind of like you said, kind of like you felt a little whelmed.
Right.
Like, all right, it was nice, but it wasn't like, oh, wow, you got to see that. You know, I mean, it was good and it was fun to be back, but yeah, it you know. I thought Mandalorian season 1 was better. The first episode.
At least the first episode.
I actually went back and watched that.
Well, and I'm trying to think, was it that much better, or was it just the fact that it introduced Grogu at the end, which was kind of like the big thing?
But that's just it. Know? It's like, think of what that did. Not only that, you had at the beginning of the episode, he gets his bounty and he puts him into the cryo thing, right? So you had that little flashbacks there on technology that was still being used since, you know, Han Solo was in one. You had all that stuff going on. There was a lot going. You saw stormtroopers for the first time, and after the Empire fell, there was a lot going on in that episode. And then they hit you at the end with Grogu, you know, which at the time we called Baby Yoda. But but this one, that's why we felt whelmed. It's like, what at the end of Book of Boba, episode 1, what do we, nothing.
We didn't really get anything. And like I said, it felt like even the action scenes that were supposed to be great were just not so much. And then we introduced a new creature on Tatooine that I was like, okay, where did this guy come from?
Which one was that?
Like the Kraken.
Oh,
basically, he was basically the Kraken from Clash of the Titans, except he was in sand instead of water.
Right.
But yeah, I was like, well, what's that guy called, and where did he come from? Because we've never seen that guy before. But it was cool.
Yeah.
I like that whole thing with the Tusken Raiders, you know, the Sand People and all that stuff. So,
yeah, the whole how he had to fight for that, and like how he got their respect, and just, like I said, the flashbacks, everything that they did, I thought, you know, is interesting backstory stuff, but nothing super revealing that made you go, "Wow!"
Right.
So, all right, moving on.
All right, next up, this took us a couple of days. Actually, this took us from Wednesday to like Sunday. We watched El Chapo 3 seasons. On Netflix. So this is not the same people that were doing Narcos, but it was kind of like picked up where Narcos ended. You know, because like Narcos season 3 kind of ended with El Chapo coming into his kind of rise to power. And this was basically his 3 seasons of, I mean, it did go back and tell some of the backstory, which was interesting because you were hearing the same names that you heard in the other show, but they were all different actors, different people.
Yeah.
But, you know, it was a lot of the same players. But yeah, again, kind of fictionalized account of real life events, right? And it was really interesting. I really like watching shows like this. I liked Narcos. And this was ultimately not as good production-wise as Narcos was, but it told a different story, so it was pretty good. But yeah, that took us all the way up until Sunday, because it was like it ended up being like 34 episodes total, I think. Again, keep in mind we were just sick on the couch, like we weren't going anywhere. So
I know
we had a lot of hours to kill. That, like I said, so that took us into Sunday. Sunday, we watched Cobra Kai. I texted you later in the afternoon when we were done with that.
Yeah.
That was basically like 6 hours of Cobra Kai. But we watched all of season 4 of that.
Whelmed.
Again, yeah, not quite as good as season 3. But I think they did a great job of turning people around. Like making you care for characters that you shouldn't have cared about before, but then making you like angry with the characters that you used to like, you know, because
Kreese,
you start to
by
feel
the end of we said that
well,
at
even
the end of
Kreese,
season 3, we were like, do they take in season 4? do they take Kreese and make us feel like he's like redeemable?
Right.
And they did.
And you kind of do though a little bit at the end.
Door a little bit when he did at the end there, but
it was more like, you've been on this roller coaster with Robbie, right? Like season 1, you love him, he's the hero. Season 2 and 3, you can see his descent, and you don't really like him anymore. Season 4, you don't really like him too much either, but you can kind of start to see him walking the path back to the light side again.
Yeah.
Then you've got I don't know, I don't want to spoil things, but
we
basically, all right. So I'll say this. I'll say this without spoiling it, though. The last fight in the last episode, or basically the championship match for the whole All Valley tournament, went the way I wanted it to go. At the end of the day, you wanted that character to win more than the other one, because they turned the way you felt about both of them. You know what I mean? You know who I'm talking about, right? It's the final match. You have to know who it was. You know who I'm talking about. And you're kind of I even said to my wife before it starts, I kind of hope this one wins, because
really,
because the other one's been kind of like a B through the whole thing, and the other one, you're kind of starting to feel bad for her, and then you have the whole thing with Silver getting involved, and you find out, you don't even know what really happened, but
you do.
Now,
we'll talk about it next week. That's a good kryptonite for next week.
Now, not really spoilers, but in the very first episode, right, they show Kreese calling Silver. And
that was at the end of season 3. Yeah.
Right. But so it opens with that scene in season 4, first episode.
Right.
And he doesn't answer the phone. And I was thinking, how awesome would it be if he's not in this season at all? We went through the whole year thinking, oh my God, it's going to be Terry Silver and this and that. And he just doesn't answer the phone, and that's it. I thought that would have been so awesome. Just Kreese, hang it up. He's gone. Obviously, that's not what happened. But
right.
But even with that whole thing, again, he turns into a giant D-bag at the end, but he didn't start out that way. And it was kind of
right. No, I know.
It's kind of like Daniel that pushed him that way. You know what I mean? Because he's like, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. I was completely wrong to do this when I was a kid. And Daniel was just like, no, not accepting your apology, not listening to you.
But I don't blame
But he was sincere at that point when he was saying it.
I don't know.
I think he was.
I don't know.
I think he was. And then,
I don't know if he was.
And then it's I don't know. Who hasn't watched it already that cares? It's hard to talk about these things without spoiling
we can do it.
some
We'll
stuff.
do it next week. We'll do a kryptonite next week.
I don't know. That. My point being, I just think they did a great job of sucking you into certain characters that you shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
And then kind of starting to turn a little bit on some of the characters that you liked, that are turning into jerks. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep.
So I thought they did great with that. Last but not least, watch the Harry Potter special on HBO.
Really? How was that?
I know you probably haven't
watched it.
Well, and
watched it yet.
Don't watch it if you haven't seen the movie.
List.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna say if you haven't seen the movie,
there is another host
don't watch
here,
it.
and I can tell you the stuff I've watched, but
I'm waiting for you to. No, I'm waiting for you to tell me. I was just gonna say don't watch it until you've watched the last movie.
Right.
Because it will spoil it for you.
Right.
Feel free now to give me your list, which I know now includes Harry Potter Part 2.
Yeah, Deathly Hallows Part 2. So we'll start with that. Meg and I watched that the other day when we're both home with COVID. So we went and watched that. Really, really good, obviously. That was our intention, was to watch that and then move on to the special. So we haven't done that yet. But yeah, it's really good, the special.
Yeah, pretty good. Like I said, it's 90 minutes. It is what it is. You know what it is going into it. It's a reunion special.
Right.
For the first movie's 20th anniversary.
It's funny because remember, like we'll still do our show. You and I have talked about it. We got to get.
We didn't really get
back
to it.
work, so it's a little tougher now. But I'll get in touch with him and we'll do our show, our final Harry Potter show. Doesn't mean it's our final show,
which I'll have to watch again anyways because I haven't seen.
I'll
it
watch
in a
it
while.
again. Yeah, but at the end of it. At the end of that episode, at the end of that movie, I looked at Meg and I was like, what was the play about? Because the first Harry Potter thing that Meg saw was the play. She never saw the movies. And she goes, it's about the kids.
Yeah,
I go,
it's about the kids.
Oh my God. I'm like, didn't that kind of ruin it all for you? And she's like, no, it was good. I loved the play. And then
it's just like watching the end and then going back and watching the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Like every TV show you watch these days that starts out with the end of the episode,
right?
And then says 24 hours earlier, and then you watch all that stuff that happened, which was cool the first time they did it, but now it irritates me because it's like every show.
Way. Yeah.
But yeah, well, I remember her saying that way back when we first started doing the shows.
Right.
That she saw that play and it was about the kids, and I thought I had mentioned that to her. Like, didn't that kind of spoil some of it for you?
Yeah.
But again, not to spoil the special at all, but there was just one line in it where they were talking about the end of that movie, and they're like, we look better today than they made us look at the end of that movie.
Oh, really?
Like, all those actors who are actually now 20 years older. Than, they actually look better in real life than they were made to look at the end of that movie.
Well,
because Ron had the fat suit and the hair and all that stuff, and he still looks pretty good.
What I thought was funny is they didn't really age Hermione.
No,
she looked great, but all the guys, they like aged the bejesus out of them. But it was probably like they came to her and she went, I ain't having a part of that. Like,
but when you look at Radcliffe and them now, they look better.
Yeah,
they look
that.
Better.
Yeah.
So
it
was pretty good.
Saw that. A couple of 4K discs for you. I watched. No Time to Die in 4K. Definitely check that out.
Yeah, I haven't picked it up yet.
Beautiful. Gorgeous
I'm sure it
looking.
is, yeah.
Gorgeous looking movie. Suicide Squad. The Suicide Squad in 4K. That's an absolute blast. Very colorful. Great sound. Joe and I watched Die Hard in 4K again.
I know you did because it was Christmas time.
It was Christmas. Let's see. Book of Boba Fett.
Did you watch Lethal Weapon 2?
No, I didn't watch that this year.
Lethal Weapon also, not Lethal Weapon 2.
No, I did not watch that this year.
Or Rambo, right? Isn't that the other Christmas movie?
First Blood, I did. Yeah. Yes, I did watch that this year. Jen and I finished 9 Perfect Strangers on Hulu with Nicole Kidman.
How was
that? Jen really, really liked it. I'm like, it's, excuse me. It's about it's about drugs. And not like it's about drugs in a medicinal way, like using psilocybin and stuff for medicinal purposes and stuff. And Nicole Kidman kind of is doing research for it, and that's what she gets a group of people in, 9 Perfect Strangers, and how they all handle everything, and it's decent. I think you guys would like it. It's crazy. It's fun. It's weird. It's upsetting. And
we may watch it because, like I said, we are like done. Like towards the end of the week, we were like combing
this
stuff.
I got
looking for things
another
watch.
one for you then if you haven't seen too. But definitely check out 9 Perfect Strangers. There's one character in it I absolutely hated. And I'll tell you after you've seen it which one it is. But it's a great. They do a great job with the character. I felt like it's like that's what you're supposed to be like, but I'm just like I had no patience for this character. Plugging along on For All Mankind, it season 1 still, but I was watching. I was really plowing through The Witcher, so I was enjoying that.
Right.
Vigil. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but I've seen it.
Peacock.
Like
Okay.
Yeah.
Check it out. It is really, really good.
Yeah.
It's like it's a submarine mystery investigation type thing. Like something happens on the submarine. This is all. It's this is put out by the BBC, so it's
Yeah,
all
I watched
British
the trailer
stuff.
for it.
It's really good.
I just haven't seen it.
It's got Rose Leslie plays what's her name from Game of Thrones? She was Jon Snow's wife, Kit Harington's wife. In real life.
Yeah.
What's her name in the show? Ygritte, something like that.
Ygritte, yeah, Ygritte.
Is it Ygritte?
Yeah. Ygritte.
So she's one of the investigators in it. You'll notice some other people in it that you do know from other places. Some of the guys, some of the
right.
I don't know about any of the other women, but that Rose Leslie, noticed right. We noticed right away, and you're like, oh, okay, she's in it. But other than that, I mean, don't watch it because of her. It is really, really good. It's like we're like 4 episodes into it. We can't wait to finish it. It goes in a direction. It starts in one direction, goes in another direction. It really good. And so there's an investigation going on the submarine, and at the same time, that Rose Leslie's character is playing. She's investigating on land, and they're both investigating what happened with the British Royal Navy to let this happen. Let's just say, but check it out. It's awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
so
we
good.
might watch it. I forgot one more thing I did watch. My first IMAX enhanced movie on Disney Plus.
Oh, what'd you see?
Shang-Chi.
Oh, yeah.
I watched Shang-Chi, which I own the disc, which I almost watched the disc, but then I wanted to check it out. I wanted to check out the IMAX enhanced.
Yeah.
Which that entire movie was IMAX.
Right.
Like it wasn't like in and out like some of the other ones were.
Yeah, it was the third one. Endgame and Infinity War are the only other 2 that are full IMAX enhanced.
But yeah, I mean, we already talked about the movie. Obviously, I liked the movie a lot. I enjoyed it just as much the second time around. But the IMAX enhanced was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Again, I don't have a big. My screen isn't as big as yours, so it didn't look a whole lot different than just regular 16:9 stuff for me.
Did you go back and forth on it though? Because you can.
No,
but
that's the thing. I didn't do that because
check that out.
Lydia and I were watching it as a movie. She wasn't interested in. Like me sitting there doing A/B testing on it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
yeah,
I might do that when I have time alone.
Watch that scene that I told you about before from Black Panther. It's right at the beginning when he first gets to Wakanda, and watch that scene even on your TV. I mean, 75-inch. Right. It's still a difference because now you don't have the bars at the top and the bottom.
Right.
And when he first goes in, they gradually go away, and it just looks so much. Wakanda looks so much cooler, so much larger than life, actually. So it's pretty cool. Check that out.
You know what else? Did you watch the little Ted Lasso thing for Christmas?
Yes,
that was pretty good. I mean, it was only like 4 minutes long or something.
I know.
It was pretty short.
I thought it was an episode.
Fun.
Jen and I sat down just the other day. We're like, what do you want to watch? We're like, oh, let's watch something fun because we weren't feeling well. And I'm like, let's watch something fun. We're having dinner. And she goes, all right. So we sit down. And I go, she goes, put on that Ted Lasso show. I'm like, that's right. I put it on. I'm like, it's 4 friggin' minutes.
Yeah. But like still Roy had like the bright side treatment. Like he was getting Captain America.
Yeah.
But that was pretty good.
Yeah. It was really good. Captain American. So yeah. The other one, it's on Peacock. We saw it on Peacock, but it's actually a show that's on NBC. It's a new show called American Auto. Have you seen it? It's a sitcom.
No, I haven't.
And it's on NBC. It's got 2 episodes out now. We watched them both on Peacock. We can't wait for the 3rd episode, but
yeah.
it's like The Office. It's just like it's shot like The Office. They act like The Office, but it's so like you'll love it. We were crying, laughing. Me, Meg, and Jen, we were crying, laughing because it's so like not politically correct. Like they say everything wrong. Like I'll give you an idea. Like the opening scene is it's about a car company, a fictional car company, and they have the opening scene is they have this self-driving car. And they're driving around and they're test driving it on their test track. And it's got like these little cardboard cutouts of people that come out in front of them. And it's supposed to, there's no brakes. There's nothing in the car to power the car. You're just a passenger. So whatever happens, you can't correct it.
Right.
And these characters coming out and the car's stopping for them. And then up ahead is one of the guys that works on the factory, and he happens to be black, and he's talking to this other guy, and he wanders out into the path, and the car comes along and just runs him over. They're like, what happened? And they investigated it. And because the cameras, the way they work, they don't see black people.
Oh, jeez.
But the designer of the car is a black guy. And he's just like, it was so funny. And like, we made the first racist car. And they're just... You got to see it. It's some of the lines that they say are so, and the car happens to be white. It's this big white car. So they're like, yeah, your Clanmobile, they call it. Like, but it's like, it was an accident. It's just an oversight. Like, yeah, well, nice oversight. But like all the cutouts were just, they're just cutouts of people, but they weren't colored people. So it saw them. But that's just the beginning. And then all the other stuff they do, the woman running the company keeps stepping in it. Like she making mistake after mistake. It's just really, really good.
Okay.
So funny.
I'll look at that.
So
I forgot to mention too, that's the way that What We Do in the Shadows is. It's also like The Office. So it's like a camera crew following around a family of like a coven of vampires that are like killing people. Yeah, that's actually what makes it funny is that they're doing interviews and talking about it after they've killed somebody, and it's pretty good.
This one it's not shot like that. I mean, it looks and feels like that, but it's not supposed to be like the camera crew following them around,
right?
But yeah, so yeah, definitely check that out. American Audience. They just started, and I think another episode's dropping this week. But that's on NBC, so that's regular TV,
right? Well, I have Peacock though.
Yeah, there you go. Peacock. And you can get that too. And you know what else is on Peacock?
What?
Space 1999.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my God!
I started that
since like the 70s.
You won't even realize what we were watching. It was actually pretty good. It's wicked, like dated. It's old.
Yeah,
but it was pretty cool. Sure. I watched 2 episodes of it, so I'm gonna watch some more. And the last thing I'll wrap up on is I started watching Super Friends again on HBO Max. Yeah. Just when I need something to watch and nobody's around, and I'm like sitting down to do something quick.
Just watch a couple of those.
Yeah. And Ted Knight cracks me up. It's like what you do for your acting career. Because go and watch Super Friends and listen to Ted Knight, and he like the crazy voice that he's talking in. I can't even do it right now.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
Yeah, but it's like it's so like you got to hear it. It's it's Ted Knight, but it's like he'd never talk like that in a million years. It's like,
from the cosmic legends of the universe.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. But yeah, I started. There's like 11
there's
seasons.
A ton of that. Yeah, I watched the first couple of seasons at the store when it was on DC Universe.
Yeah.
And they're super dated, but they're, I watched all the Wendy and Marvin episodes, and then you get to the Wonder Twins, and
I thought I would have flown through. I put it on one night when I went to bed, and it was on when I woke up, like because it just keeps playing. And I thought I would have flown through it, but every episode's like 45 minutes long. They were hour-long episodes.
Yeah.
And there's 12 seasons, and I don't even know how, 11 or 12 seasons, and I don't know.
Yeah, and they probably had like 20 episodes per season. Like, there's a lot of episodes.
There's a lot. So, a lot to take in there.
Yeah.
So, and that's about it for me. So, is that it?
I think so.
Is that it? You're going to get out of here and get back to your couch so you can watch some more. Now that I've given you a couple, you got Vigil and you have 9 Perfect Strangers.
Yeah, I don't have much to watch right now. I've got, and I'll say in between all of this, again, remember that list is like 3 weeks long because we haven't talked about, I didn't watch all that in a week, but I also squeezed in like 3 or 4 soccer games per week because I'm watching a ton of soccer. Like I'm super into soccer. Yeah. Now
you are getting
watched all my watched the Patriots games. Still watched Yellowstone. Like I still watched a bunch of other stuff too. I just didn't bring it up.
I like how you're like, hey, I have a busy life. I've also watched.
Yeah.
It's like, you haven't moved. You just
Well, I say that because I have a game to watch. That's actually what I'm going to go do when we're done. But
all right, so we'll wrap up.
And then
so
I'll
you can
watch
then
I'll watch something.
Get to the
else,
pitch.
Yeah. Well, they're all recorded. They're all on Peacock.
Okay.
So I'm not watching any of them live because I don't live in London. So I'm watching them all on Peacock. But
all right.
But I'm super into soccer now. It's like,
what got you into that?
I watched. You know what got me into it was when. Well, that a little bit, but remember back when Steve and Ralph watched. They watched a game
because of Ted Lasso.
Because of Ted Lasso, I watched that same game. I watched the game that they were watching, and I got into it. And then I started watching other games, and then I've watched I'm following 2 teams because I can't decide which team I want to follow. Because it's not like growing up in Boston, you follow the Red Sox because you're from there. I don't have a team to follow that I'm tied to because of
don't the Red Sox own Liverpool?
Well, that's the whole thing. So I started rooting for Liverpool because John Henry owns Liverpool. And so that's the team I had kind of decided I was going to follow. And the first few games, I just watched them. But then I came across Manchester United, who has...
Man, you...
Well, they have the only player that I had actually ever really heard of, Cristiano Ronaldo. Not that I knew who he was, but he was a soccer player that I had heard of.
Just one of the most famous ones ever.
Well, right, but
since Pele retired.
But I don't watch soccer, right. Well, he got transferred to Man U. So I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll start following that team. So now I'm watching 2 games per week. The problem is they're both bitter rivals. So it's like being a fan of the Red Sox and the Yankees. You know what I mean? So you really can't do both. So I'm really having a hard time deciding which team I want to follow. So I just watch both games every week.
You can follow both because nobody's coming to your house and beating you up over it.
But the thing is, ultimately, they play each other. You have to pick one.
But they're not going to hurt you.
I know they're not going to hurt. They're not going to hurt me if I like the Red Sox and the Yankees either. But
I don't know.
Well, some people might. But so what I said was they played each other not too long ago, and I was like, oh, whichever team wins, I'll make that the team that I'm going to follow.
Let me guess, they ended in a tie.
No. Liverpool kicked the crap out of them. It was 5-0. It wasn't even close. At the end of the day, Liverpool is a good team, and Man U is actually not that good. But I have a soft spot for them now, so I still keep rooting for them. So, I'm following both of these teams and watching. They play twice a week, so I'm watching 4 games a week of soccer.
Oh, jeez.
So, but yeah, I got into it because of Ralph and Steve and Ted Lasso, and it's actually pretty again, there's a lot of games where it's 0-0 or 1-0, right. And it seems like it wasn't very entertaining, but they actually are pretty entertaining.
They are, yeah,
because a lot of stuff is happening. They're just not, they're just not scoring.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So I'm super into that right now. So
there you go. All right.
So yeah,
wrap up.
That's our sports segment.
That's our sports. Oh, you're killing me, kid.
I know.
All right. Let's get out of here while I still can.
All right.
That'll do it for this week. What do we have? Whoa, 2 hours we went. There you go. And
it was all real world.
It was all John's real world.
I told you it would be.
I know. Yep. Next week it'll be. Maybe we'll get in a little Kryptonite.
Well, it'll be a lot shorter. Yeah, I won't have as much.
Yeah,
as much to watch. So,
all right. We will be back next week with more books, more shows, more everything, more comic book store talk, conversation, chat, whatever you want to call it. In the meantime, you can reach us at brightside_chat, or you can reach John exclusively at Arkham Comics with an X. He will reply if you're talking about Doctor Who.
Or soccer.
Or soccer. There you go. Or soccer. Great. Now we're going to get soccer comments, too.
Yep.
That'll
football, actually.
Football. Sorry.
Can't call it soccer.
Soccer. Yeah. All right. But yeah, get the questions, comments in for next week, and we'll talk about it then, and we'll go over Manchester United and Liverpool scores.
There you go.
All right. Everybody have a great week. I will be back next week.
Take care, everyone.
Wait for that.
Yeah, I spaced out.
Hey, Fred.